back to Crazy Town. I am your mayor, Danielle K. Anderson, interfaith minister, spiritual counselor, speaker, and coach. And it is my purpose to help people to look good, feel good, find and walk in their purpose. Today, on Cartomancy Part 2, we're going to be moving forward. But first, I need to make a correction. In the last video, I made a point about dealing cards. When you're handling cards, to move them one way to the other and not this way. So it's going left to right and not flipping from bottom to top. That was a mistake. What I should have said was, I only deal cards from left to right, off the top of the deck. How you handle your cards is completely up to you. If once you get comfortable with your deck and laying out spreads, how the cards flip is completely up to you. The point really is that once you have a system, stick with it. That's it. So that there is no confusion in your cards and your deck. So, that being said, this one is going to be a little meaty. There's going to be a lot of information in this one video. So, I would recommend going ahead, getting a piece of paper or a notebook, several pieces of paper, something to write with, and an open mind. And I hope that you enjoy it. So, without further ado, part 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to Crazy Town. I am your mayor, Danielle K. Anderson, and this is part 2 of Intro to Cartomancy. And in this video, we are going to be examining the deck as a whole. Now, looking at an ordinary deck of playing cards, usually we only see and think about the elements of the game that we're going to play. But when we look a little bit deeper, we can see that the cards can tell us a whole lot more about ourselves and the world around us. So at first, let's take a look at the 4 suits. So the first thing that we notice is that there are 4 suits with 2 colors. Hearts and diamonds are red, clubs and spades are black, and they each have a different meaning. And the 4 suits represent the 4 natural elements, the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 seasons in a year, and the 4 elements of humanity or aspects of the human being. So let's move forward and take a look. Hearts are mirrored into a row with the cups. They represent love, home, impulse, emotions, harmony, compassion, relationships, and socializing. The elements are water, the west direction, spring season, and the soul of the human. Next, we have the clubs, mirrored by the wands in tarot, representing knowledge, creativity, ideas, aggression, passion, and action, and sharing information. So the element is fire, the direction is the north, the season is summer, and the element of the human is the spirit. Moving on to diamonds, mirrored by the pentacles or coins in tarot. They represent money, wealth, security, prosperity, values, career, and experience. The element is earth, direction is east, the autumn season, and the human aspect of the body. Finally, they have the spades. Spades are mirrored by the swords, representing changes, work, transformation, aggression, ambition, wisdom, and activity. The element of spades is air. The direction is the south. The season is the winter, and the human aspect is the mind. Whew. So that is a lot. So the next we look at the tricks. A trick is simply the 13 cards within a suit, from ace all the way up to the king. Each of these has a numerical value of 1 through 13. And notice here how I have the cards laid out, 3 sets of 4 and 1 to make up 12 plus 1 is 13. That's going to be important, that aspect of plus 1, a little bit later on. But for now, let's just keep in mind 13 is 12 plus 1. Now you'll notice that in most decks there are 2 jokers, and most of them are almost identical, and there are slight differences between the 2. This example shows one that's only black and white and another one that's colored more ornately with red lettering. Some decks may depict a black and white male and a red female. Jokers are considered wild cards in games. They can take the place of any other card that's needed. Any number, any value, any face. Now, the jokers do have numerical values if you choose to use them in your reading, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, let's have some fun with the numbers. Here we go. So when I say fun with numbers, I don't mean the actual numbers of on the cards. I mean the numbers of cards themselves. So we all know that a standard playing deck of cards is 52. And what else do we know that has 52? What's significant about that number? Well, it is the number of weeks in a year. 52 weeks in 1 year. Each year is broken up into 4 seasons. And each season is broken up into weeks and months. So, knowing that, we have 52 weeks in a year, and we have 4 weeks in every month. 4 weeks of 7 days equals 28 days in 1 lunar month, because 28 days is the amount of time it takes for a moon to complete 1 cycle. So there are 3 months in a quarter, and in those 3 months there are 13 weeks, and we have 13 numbers in a trick. Okay, and remember I told you that each card has a value. Ace is 1, 2 through 10 hold their values as well. Okay, and then we have the Jack, which is 11, the Queen 12, and the King is 13. So 13 cards in a suit times 4 suits equals 52 cards, 52 weeks in a year. Making sense? Making sense. Let's hope that it's making sense. I hope you're writing these things down. Okay, what's also significant about the cards and their numbers is that the number 13, again, we have 13 weeks in a quarter or in a season, and there are also 13 lunar cycles in 1 year. So there are 13 cycles of 28 days in a year. Now, here's the fun part. If you take all of the number values of the cards, 1, and add them all together, ace being 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, and so on, and so on, all the way up to 13, you get a value of 91. Okay? And when you take that 91 and multiply it by 4 seasons, you get a total of 364. So that's 1 lunar year. Now, why is that significant? Well, remember earlier in the video, we talked about the concept of +1, right? Okay, so there are 364 days in a lunar year. But our calendar says 365 days in a year. So how do we account for that in the cards? Very simple. It's our good friends, the Jokers. Okay, so remember also that I said earlier that Jokers have specific values depending on what system that you use. So The jokers in tarot, if you use them, one mirrors the Fool, which has a value of 0, and the other mirrors the Magician, which has a value of 1. So if you take these 364 days, you add the Fool, which is 0, you still have 364, and then you add the Magician, you get 365. So for all of you nerds out there like me, you'll say, well, actually, a complete year is 365 and a quarter days. That's why we have leap years, to account for that 1 quarter. All right, smart Alec. Another system uses 1 joker. And in a system that uses 1 joker, the value of the joker is 1 because he's a wild card. He stands alone. He has his own value. But because the joker is also 1 of each of the other suits, it's 1 and 1/4. Okay? 1 of the 4 suits this joker takes the place of. So it's 1 and 1/4. So if you take the 364 from the standard deck, then you add 1 and 1/4, you get 365 and 1/4. Now get out of here with your facts. So that's an interesting thing, and it gives us some insight into how cool the cards are. So basically what you have right here in this 52 plus 2 or 54 card deck is a calendar. You've got a complete calendar in 1 deck of cards. It's awesome, right? Well, we can take it a step further, shall we? Now, the number 13 is important and pretty cool because it's not just 13, it's 1 and 3. If you know numerology, 1 and 3 are added together to make 4. So we're back to 4 again. The number 4 in numerology stands for a strong foundation. And so we must always remember the 4 is always going to be in this deck a very, very significant number. Okay. So with 13, we have 13 weeks in a season. Again, 13 lunar cycles per year. Again. And now this is where the 12 plus 1 come in. So there are traditionally 12 signs in a zodiac. However, modern thought in the last couple of years, it's come along that there are actually 13. The 13th one, the last one being shorter than all the rest. And so if you choose to use that zodiac, you have 12 plus 1, and that's 13. The people that created these cards knew exactly what they were doing. So then if we go back to the Bible, we think why is 13 significant in the Bible? Well, to me, what it reminds me of is the children of Israel, previously named Jacob. The sons of Israel inherited the countries, and there were 12. So why is that significant? Well, the children, the physical children of that man were 12 sons and 1 daughter. So it's said by some who study occult theories and correspondences in the Bible with astrology and astronomy, that the children of Israel are represented in the sky by the zodiac or the constellations. So we have the 12 male children who inherited the earth, and then the female. What else is significant about that number 12 or 13 being 12 plus 1? That's the number that is attributed to the disciples of Christ, the ones that traveled with him in the New Testament when he is preaching his word and bringing about salvation. So again, 12. We know there were 12 men that followed Jesus, but people forget about that one woman that was always by his side, Mary Magdalene. You could use Mary, his mother, or Mary Magdalene, but Mary Magdalene is the one who saw him first after he was risen, and she was the first evangelist to tell that he had been risen. So 12 men, disciples, plus the one Mary. And isn't it interesting how that 13th is always a woman when you do these examinations? I find it fun. That's just me. One last thing, when we're going back to 4, I'm going to compare with the Bible again. So forgive me if you don't happen to follow the Bible or use the Bible in your work, but I'm a minister. It's what I do. Okay. So when we look again at the number 4 and the 4 suits, if you assign each of the suits a value of 1 through 4, okay. Let's say heart is 1, club is 2, diamond 3, and spades 4. It's just there's no significance in how I just said that. It's just an example. If you give them values 1 through 4, then you add those together. Again, if you're using numerology, then you get 10. Okay, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. And then you multiply them by itself, the 4 suits, and you get 40. Now, again, in numerology, we all know, those who know numerology, that the 0 has no value, so the value is 4. But the number 40 is important because if we start with the Bible, the Hebrew people traveled for 40 years in the wilderness. There were 40 days and nights of rain for the flood of Noah. And there were 40 days of prayer and fasting by Jesus in the wilderness before he began his ministry. Now, why is that important? Why is that significant? Why are we even talking about that? Well, because 40 is a day also, not a day. 40 is also a number of completion, okay? Because it takes 40 weeks for a human to create life. Gestation of a human being is typically 40 weeks. Now, full term is considered between 38 and 42. Of course, there's some leeway there, but 40 weeks is considered a full term gestational period. So it's very interesting. There are books and devotionals that go for 40 days. If you follow Reverend Valerie Love, then you know that she has 40 money mantras, 40 money spells. That 40 is very significant because it's a cycle of completion. Okay. The number 4 is also very, very important because the Greek, I believe it's the Greek word for the number 4 is tetra. And there are 4 letters in the tetragrammaton, being the holy name of God, YHWH or JHVH, depending on which translation you use. Now, again, that's just very personal to me. Whatever you pull from the significance of the numbers in these cards is for you. And I want you to just take a look at it. See how you feel about it. Spend some time with these numbers. Spend some time with your cards. Process the symbology that we discussed earlier on about the seasons and the aspects of the human, and see how they can help you develop your senses when you are doing readings. Now, this is the end of the intro to Cartomancy. I'll be having 2 videos per week, each having 1 card describing their suits, their values, and their significance in readings. There may actually even be a live Q&A in between there. So make sure if you have any questions to type them down below, and have fun. See you next time. Hey guys, thanks again for watching. I appreciate you so much. Listen, if you liked what you saw today, make sure to hit that like button and comment down below. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe so that you can be made aware of every video that comes out. What they were doing, that's funny, I just cut the cards and the jokers came up.